The sound of heavy breathing echoed through the Las Vegas federal courtroom as the judge delivered a verdict that rocked reality television to its core. Rick Harrison and Austin Chumlee Russell, once the lighthearted stars of Pawn Stars, collapsed under the crushing weight of their life-altering sentences. It was a moment no one watching would ever forget. How did two of the most recognizable faces on the History Channel go from haggling over antiques to facing the full force of the American justice system? This wasn't just a courtroom drama. It was a collision between fame and consequence, between television mythology and cold, hard truth. Buckle up, because the real story behind the Pawn Stars' downfall is more unbelievable than anything ever shown on screen. From pawn shop to pop culture empire, the untold legacy of Rick Harrison and Pawn Stars. Now let's dive into the story behind two of reality TV's most captivating figures, Rick Harrison and Corey Big Hoss Harrison. These iconic stars of Pawn Stars aren't just reality show personalities, they're pop culture powerhouses. Known for their dynamic chemistry, sharp wit, and encyclopedic knowledge of history, the duo brought a refreshing mix of authenticity and drama to every episode. Over more than a decade on the History Channel, they've turned high-stakes negotiations, shocking historical discoveries, and unforgettable on-camera moments into must-watch television for millions of fans across the globe. But their legacy goes far beyond the small screen. Harrison and Russell didn't just entertain, they educated. They sparked a nationwide interest in historical collectibles, influenced the antiques market, and rebranded Las Vegas tourism by transforming a modest pawn shop into a global attraction. They redefined what it means to be a businessman in the entertainment era, turning family grit and passion into a cultural empire. Rick Harrison's rise to fame wasn't handed to him. It was earned through relentless determination, business savvy, and a deep respect for history. When critics dismissed Pawn Stars as a gimmick, he doubled down, building the gold and silver pawn shop into a landmark and himself into one of America's most recognized entrepreneurs. His ability to make centuries-old artifacts feel alive and relevant without ever talking down to his audience is what truly sets him apart. Harrison didn't just build a show, he built a legacy. The wild success of Pawn Stars set off a chain reaction that few could have predicted, one that split into two starkly different worlds, booming business and whispered controversy. The gold and silver pawn shop, once just another storefront in Las Vegas, became a full-blown tourist magnet, drawing millions of fans each year. Its rise wasn't just about fame, it was fueled by smart sales strategies, iconic branding, and the embodiment of the American hustle. But behind the scenes, the picture wasn't all glitz. Federal investigators found themselves tangled in a maze of transactions stretching across states, shell companies, and shadowy partnerships. Slowly, a sliver of evidence surfaced, one that raised serious questions. While the official business continued to shine in the spotlight, rumors of underground dealings began to swirl. The contrast between what was seen on screen and what might have been happening off-camera created a tension that couldn't be ignored. "We built this business on knowledge and fair deals," Rick Harrison told the press during early probes. But scrutiny only makes you stronger. Refusing to retreat into silence, both Harrison and Russell chose to face the allegations head-on, cooperating with authorities and speaking openly about the ordeal. Unlike others caught in the crosshairs of federal investigations, they didn't go dark. Instead, they leaned into the storm, holding press conferences, addressing fans directly, and painting a picture of entrepreneurs under siege rather than perpetrators of wrongdoing. Their transparency, resilience, and refusal to fold turned public opinion in their favor, casting them not as villains, but as icons weathering yet another high-stakes deal. By the early 2020s, the spotlight on Pawn Stars had taken a dark and unexpected turn. On one side, a tidal wave of public support surged fan pages. Online petitions and hashtags flooded the internet, painting Rick Harrison and Corey Russell as victims of a government witch hunt. Millions rallied behind them, convinced their favorite TV stars were innocent men caught in a storm of overreach. But behind closed doors, federal prosecutors were building something far more damning. A mountain of financial records that suggested the gold and silver pawn shop wasn't just a business, it was the alleged front for a sprawling criminal enterprise. As the legal pressure intensified, cracks began to show. Harrison and Russell, once the unshakable faces of reality, TV found themselves in a fight for their legacy. Facing allegations so far from who we are has been devastating, Harrison admitted in a rare, emotionally charged interview. But we went back to what we know: transparency, truth, and trusting the public to see us for who we really are. Yet their defense, rooted in reputation and goodwill, clashed head-on with the prosecution's increasingly calculated case. By 2022, the line between television stardom and alleged criminal behavior had never been blurrier. While die-hard fans refused to believe the worst, federal agents had allegedly traced over $15 million in illicit transactions tied to sophisticated money laundering operations run through the shop. The case was no longer just about a pawn business. It was about a multi-layered network of hidden deals, secret accounts, and a bombshell revelation waiting to shake the entertainment world to its core. What began as a background audit exploded into one of the most shocking scandals in reality television history. In 2022, a breakthrough came when forensic accountant Thomas Richards uncovered a damning trail buried deep within sealed financial records. His audit revealed a complex web of transactions systematically designed to disguise the movement of illicit funds through the gold and silver pawn shop's legitimate business accounts. These weren't accidents, Richards declared in a widely televised congressional hearing. This was a deliberate, structured effort to launder millions. The evidence set legal and financial circles ablaze as analysts traced the connections between the shop and a labyrinth of shell companies scattered across state lines. Just 1 week later, prosecutors dropped the bombshell. An estimated $15.7 million had allegedly been laundered through a sophisticated network spanning years, all meticulously maintained to evade detection. These weren't bookkeeping mistakes. According to the lead prosecutor, the level of planning pointed directly to the top, naming both Rick Harrison and Corey Russell as key orchestrators. Federal charges swiftly followed, including conspiracy to launder money and extortion, each carrying the potential for life behind bars. Suddenly, the smiling TV personalities America had come to trust were now facing the full force of federal prosecution, and the charges hit harder than anyone expected. But the most jarring twist came from inside. Court documents revealed internal emails and memos from as far back as 2018 communications that showed associates had warned them of growing risks. The current structure carries an unacceptable risk of detection. Read one chilling internal document urging immediate changes to avoid exposure. Instead, the warnings were ignored in favor of preserving their public image. The fallout was seismic. Industry insiders called it the biggest criminal case to ever rock reality television. And what had once been a family-run empire built on fair deals now stood accused of hiding one of the most sophisticated financial crime schemes in entertainment history. The opening day of the trial was nothing short of electric. As Rick Harrison and Corey Russell entered the courtroom, the weight of the moment was undeniable. No longer beloved reality TV stars, they now stood as defendants under federal scrutiny. Financial investigators kept a hawk's eye on their every move, while government attorneys stacked boxes of evidence like ammunition in a legal war. The once charming faces of Pawn Stars now wore the hard lines of men bracing for battle. Your Honor, the prosecutor began with deliberate force. This case involves a large-scale, systematic money laundering operation, an empire built on deception. The courtroom fell silent. Prosecutors alleged that beneath the glitz of their Vegas pawn shop lay a secret network of financial trickery, used to funnel millions in illegal funds through an illusion of legitimacy. The tension spiked as newly unearthed financial documents were displayed before the jury. Harrison, visibly frustrated, leaned in to confer with his attorney while shaking his head in disbelief. Across the aisle, Russell looked pale and shaken, clutching the edge of the defense table as each accusation pierced deeper. The defining moment came during a tense exchange with FBI agent Miller. Did Mr. Harrison authorize these transactions? The prosecutor demanded. Yes, the agent replied without hesitation. His signature is on every key document. The courtroom collectively tensed as Miller continued, detailing how those signatures directly linked Harrison to the creation of shell companies built to mask the origins of illegal cash. These weren't slip-ups or clerical errors. They were deliberate maneuvers crafted with precision. When asked whether the financial framework required long-term planning and coordination, Miller's answer was swift and damning. Absolutely. With that, the prosecution painted a portrait of two men once hailed as American success stories, now accused of masterminding one of the most intricate financial schemes in entertainment history. The facade was cracking, and this trial was only just beginning. The tension inside the courtroom was razor sharp. When the expert witness delivered his damning conclusion, these structures were designed solely to conceal the origin of illicit funds. Rick Harrison visibly bristled, adjusting his glasses with a sharp flick. The judge didn't miss a beat. "Please maintain decorum in my courtroom," she warned sternly, her voice cutting through the charged silence. On the stand, Dr. Eleanor Jenkins, a respected forensic accounting expert from Georgetown University, walked the jury through the web of financial deceit. The layers of transactions served no legitimate business function, she explained. They were engineered with one purpose: to hide the money. The defense pushed back hard. Their strategy centered on intent, insisting Harrison and Russell relied on expert advisors and were unaware of any wrongdoing. "My client built a respected, legitimate business that provides jobs and contributes to the local economy," the defense attorney argued, claiming that the controversial structures were established based on professional guidance, not criminal intent. But by now, the financial trail had become the star witness. Expert after expert traced a staggering $15.7 million through a tangled network of shell companies, with another $2.3 million spent just to maintain them, and nearly $1.8 million more to operate the complex accounting system that allegedly kept the entire scheme running in the shadows. As the trial reached its climax, the courthouse steps became a spectacle. Supporters gathered in droves, some waving Pawn Stars posters, others wearing t-shirts emblazoned with Rick's famous quotes. The energy was electric. After 8 grueling weeks of testimony, cross-examinations, and explosive evidence, all eyes turned to Judge Eleanor Blackwood. With America watching and a beloved brand hanging in the balance, she prepared to deliver a verdict that would either shatter or salvage the legacy of reality TV's most unlikely stars. If this story caught you off guard, drop a 1 in the comments. If you saw it coming, comment 0. Now buckle up, because what happens next might just be the most shocking chapter of all. The courtroom was frozen in silence as Judge Eleanor Blackwood began her final remarks. Every eye in the room was locked on the bench, every breath held as she meticulously recounted 7 years of evidence, bank records, hidden shell companies, suspicious transactions, and the quiet erosion of public trust. Harrison and Russell sat motionless, their bodies tense, hands clasped tightly before them. The only sound was the faint rustle of legal documents echoing through the room like a final warning. "The court finds overwhelming and convincing evidence," the judge began, her voice calm but cutting, "that the defendants engaged in systematic money laundering through deliberately complex financial structures." She paused, letting the weight of her words hang in the air, particularly in the creation and use of shell companies designed to obscure the origins of illegal funds. At that moment, Harrison's eyes widened in disbelief, while Russell turned ghostly pale. Their family members in the gallery exchanged looks of silent panic as the ruling thundered forward. Guilty on all charges. Judge Blackwood continued without hesitation, given the scale, sophistication, and the public positions held by the defendants. This court is compelled to impose the maximum sentence allowed by law. The sentence was swift and devastating life imprisonment, with the possibility of parole after 25 years. All assets tied to the operation would be seized by the federal government. No appeals. No leniency. The verdict hit like a gut punch. For two men who had built their brand on knowledge, trust, and the American dream, this moment felt like the cruel twist ending of a once-celebrated series. The empire they had built, the fans they had won, the fame they had cherished, it all crumbled in an instant. What was supposed to be their legacy became their undoing. And as they were led away in cuffs, it was clear this wasn't just a fall from grace. It was reality TV's most shocking finale yet. No one saw it coming. As Judge Eleanor Blackwood read the final lines of the verdict, the atmosphere inside the courtroom shifted from tense to surreal. Rick Harrison's face went ghostly pale, and beads of sweat rolled down Corey Chumlee Russell's forehead. The words, "full restitution," hit like a hammer, echoing through the chamber. But from that moment on, everything blurred for the defendants. The judge's voice faded, drowned out by the deafening roar of panic building inside them. Their lawyers noticed something was wrong. They reached out, a hand on an arm, a whisper of reassurance, but it wasn't enough. Then it happened. Both Harrison and Russell collapsed right there in front of the entire courtroom. Gasps erupted as the two reality TV icons, once celebrated for their calm, collected demeanor, now lay unconscious, their bodies giving out under the crushing weight of the legal judgment. They're having severe physical reactions. A medical professional shouted, rushing through the chaos. "Everyone move back! Call emergency services!" Within seconds, paramedics pushed through the crowd as stunned spectators and photographers captured the moment that would soon dominate every major news outlet in America. Stunned silence fell over the courtroom as stretchers rolled in. Harrison and Chumlee, the familiar faces who had brought laughter and history to millions through Pawn Stars, were now being carried out under emergency care, pale, motionless, and broken. The moment was more than dramatic, it was devastating. For fans watching from home, the icons they'd grown to love had become the center of a real-life tragedy, collapsing under the emotional and physical toll of the verdict. Outside the courthouse, grief and disbelief mingled in the air. Family members clung to one another in shock, while representatives from the History Channel, once eager to promote every episode, now stood in silence, their expressions grim. Refusing to speak to the press, the network's executives were quietly escorted away by security. There were no press releases, no spin control, just the raw reality of a legacy torn apart in a single, unforgettable moment. The shocking medical collapse of Rick Harrison and Corey Chumlee Russell quickly eclipsed even the guilty verdict itself. Within hours, entertainment news outlets and social media platforms exploded with speculation, support, and disbelief. Hashtags like Pawn Stars Justice, Free Rick and Chum, and Justice for Reality began trending worldwide. Fans flooded the internet with prayers, video tributes, and theories about what really happened, turning a courtroom drama into a national conversation. The focus had shifted from courtroom evidence to human sympathy, and suddenly, the narrative wasn't so clear-cut. 3 days later, Harrison, still visibly shaken but regaining his composure, issued a statement through his attorney. "We assert our innocence and will appeal this verdict with every available resource," he wrote, his words steeped in resilience. "The truth will ultimately come to light." His statement was followed by a wave of renewed support and doubt. Former business associates, once silent, began to speak out. According to one anonymous source, many in Las Vegas's business community felt the sentences were shockingly severe. Though no official word came from court representatives, murmurs of a powerful appeal strategy began to spread behind the scenes. Russell, too, wasn't backing down. In his own statement, issued through legal counsel, he delivered a defiant message: "This fight is far from over. While we face the toughest challenge of our lives, we still believe in the appeal process and in the truth." The entertainment industry buzzed with opinions and analysis. "This case has completely shifted the way we view reality TV," said one veteran producer. "It forces us to ask, how real is the image we're sold?" Questions of authenticity, fame, and justice now hung in the air like never before. Meanwhile, fan forums lit up with conspiracy theories and emotional testimonies, while legal experts remained cautiously skeptical. Appeals are rarely successful unless clear errors occur during trial, one analyst warned. Yet the men's legal team stayed on message. When asked about the dramatic collapse in court, they responded carefully. What the world witnessed was the physical manifestation of the shock and heartbreak experienced by two innocent men, said Harrison's attorney. "We remain committed to clearing their names. This is far from over." The legal battle surrounding Pawn Stars has taken a dramatic turn that no one could have scripted. What began as a beloved reality show about historical artifacts and clever negotiations has now become a real-life courtroom thriller, drawing in millions of curious viewers around the world. Following the shocking convictions of Rick Harrison and Chumlee, interest in the show has skyrocketed once again, this time for all the wrong reasons. Streaming platforms have reported a significant spike in replays of old episodes as longtime fans revisit the series with new eyes, searching for hidden signs, inconsistencies, or possible clues that may have hinted at their alleged double lives. The contrast is jarring. Two men once hailed as down-to-earth businessmen and American success stories are now the center of a federal scandal. Their courtroom collapse, captured by cameras and replayed across every major network, wasn't just a breaking point, it was a symbol of how fast a carefully built public image can unravel. The world watched as Rick and Chumlee were stretchered out of the courtroom, and many began to ask, how well do we really know our favorite TV stars? This case has become more than just a legal proceeding. It's a mirror reflecting the uncomfortable truth about celebrity culture. It shows how fame can protect, distort, and sometimes betray. Their collapse wasn't just a reaction to a harsh sentence. It may have been the first chapter in a much longer fight to reclaim their names and reshape their legacy. Legal experts say the appeals process will be long and difficult, but fans continue to stand by them, refusing to believe the men they invited into their homes each week were capable of such crimes. What do you think about the shocking downfall of the Pawn Stars? Was justice truly served, or is this just the tip of a much deeper story? If you found this case as gripping and unexpected as we did, hit like, share this video, and leave a comment below to join the conversation. And don't forget to subscribe because the next chapter in this unbelievable saga is just beginning. Thank you for watching.